They ignored the fact that you got chartered flights because of this girl. They ignored the fact that ratings were going through the roof because of this girl. Instead, they resented it because they said, yo, we were doing stuff long before Caitlin Clark got here, and y'all wasn't paying attention then. But now the young white girl comes along and y'all want to sit up there and shower all of this praise and all of this attention that was earned before she ever came along.
Stephen A. Smith has officially reached his breaking point, and this time he isn't holding back. After what many are calling the latest attention-seeking stunt from Angel Reese, designed to once again insert herself into the Caitlin Clark narrative, the First Take legend took to the airwaves to deliver a reality check that is currently reverberating across the entire sports world. The message was loud, it was clear, and it was brutal. Angel Reese, you are special, but you are not Caitlin Clark. For months, we've seen the media push a narrative that these two are on equal footing. Two sides of the same coin, a modern-day Magic versus Bird. But Stephen A. just dismantled that entire premise in a matter of seconds. He didn't just point to the stat sheet. He pointed to the cultural phenomenon that is the Indiana fever. We're talking about a level of box office gravity that the league has never seen. A player who sells out arenas while her rivals are playing in front of empty seats, and a professional who keeps the main thing the main thing. While Angel Reese continues to lean into the villain persona, provocative social media shots, and branding moves that have even Stephen A. scratching his head, the gap between popular and transformational has never been wider. Is Angel a rebounding machine? Absolutely. Is she a star? No doubt. But as Stephen A. Smith so eloquently put it, there is a massive difference between being a great player and being the blueprint for the future of a billion-dollar industry. Today, we're breaking down the exact moment Stephen A. lost his cool, the stunt that triggered this viral explosion, and why the WNBA hierarchy is finally being forced to admit the truth. There is Caitlin Clark, and then there is everyone else. Buckle up, because the truth hurts. If there is one thing Stephen A. Smith is known for, it's his ability to cut through the noise with a level of volume and clarity that demands attention. But on a recent January edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, the volume wasn't just high, the message was devastating. For nearly 3 years, the sports world has tried to force a co-star narrative between Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. We've seen the side-by-side graphics, the debate over Rookie of the Year, and the constant comparisons of their statistical output. But Stephen A. has finally had enough. After what many are calling a series of calculated, attention-seeking social media stunts from Angel Reese, ranging from provocative New Year's Eve posts to cryptic messages following team disciplinary actions, the First Take legend decided to lay the cards on the table. He didn't just criticize Angel, he put her in her place by defining exactly what she is, and more importantly, what she is not. And his conclusion was a hammer blow to the rivalry narrative. Angel Reese is a star. Angel Reese is valuable. But Angel Reese is not Caitlin Clark, the stunt that triggered the explosion. To understand Stephen A.'s fury, we have to look at the stunts that set this off. We've seen a pattern emerging with the Chicago Sky star. While Caitlin Clark has spent her offseason in the gym or quietly building a historic signature line with Nike, Angel Reese has been a whirlwind of headlines. The most recent stunt that left Stephen A. scratching his head was Angel's behavior during a turbulent week for the Chicago Sky. After being penalized by the organization for making statements detrimental to the team in a Chicago Tribune interview, where she openly questioned the roster and hinted at leaving the franchise, Angel didn't go into grind mode. Instead, just hours after the team announced she would sit out the first half of a critical game against the Las Vegas Aces, she resurfaced on social media. Was she apologizing? Was she showing solidarity with her teammates? No. She was busy celebrating her appearance on the cover of NBA 2K26. Think about the optics. Stephen A. bellowed, leaning into the camera with that trademark intensity. Your team is in a tailspin. Your organization has literally had to issue a public statement about your unprofessionalism, and your first thought is to post Happy 2K Day. So grateful. That is the definition of a stunt. It is a deflection. It is saying, I don't care about the team's discipline because my personal brand is still winning. The professional versus the influencer. The core of Stephen A.'s critique centers on the difference between being a franchise player and being a celebrity athlete. He pointed out that Caitlin Clark, despite the unprecedented pressure and the vitriol she has faced from certain corners of the league, has kept the main thing the main thing. She doesn't engage in the Twitter wars. She doesn't post cryptic messages after a loss. She doesn't try to manufacture villain storylines to stay relevant. She plays basketball. On the other hand, Angel Reese has leaned into the villain persona so hard that it has started to overshadow her actual game. Stephen A. argued that by embracing the unapologetic branding at the expense of professional standards, Angel is actually alienating the very fans the WNBA needs to grow. What's not debatable, Smith said during his January 7th episode, is the fact that Caitlin Clark has handled her branding extremely well. Whereas with Angel Reese, sometimes you find yourself scratching your head and wondering what the hell she's doing. You certainly have the right to dress how you want and live your life, but when you draw attention to yourself for the wrong reasons, that becomes problematic, especially when the comparison is going to be drawn to Caitlin Clark, who isn't doing such things. The box office reality check. Stephen A. Smith is, above all else, a businessman. He understands that at ESPN, they track the needle. He revealed that the internal metrics for Caitlin Clark content are unlike anything they've ever seen for a female athlete. When they talk about Caitlin, the numbers jump. When they talk about Angel, the engagement is there, but the value is different. It's often negative engagement. It's controversy. Stephen A. noted that there is a fundamental difference between fame and box office. When Caitlin Clark steps into an arena, the ratings don't just go up, they explode. The revenue follows her. The infrastructure of the league shifts to accommodate her. What we will acknowledge, Smith noted, is that Angel Reese is popular, but she is not the box office attraction that Caitlin Clark is. If Caitlin doesn't play, the numbers collapse. If Angel doesn't play, the game goes on. That is the cold, hard reality of the business of basketball, the gatekeeper of relevance. Stephen A. also touched on a nerve that many in the WNBA don't want to discuss: the fact that Angel Reese's popularity is largely reactive. He argued that Angel became a household name not because of her jumper, but because she was the one clapping back at the Golden Girl during the 2023 National Championship. By continuing to pull these stunts, whether it's the sideline trash talk or the provocative social media posts, Angel is trying to keep that friction alive because it's her primary source of relevance. But Stephen A. warns that the Caitlin Clark rocket ship is moving too fast for Angel to stay attached to it forever. Eventually, he said, the novelty of the villain wears off, and all you're left with is your game. And right now, the game isn't on the same level. The stunt that cost her the senior team? The most devastating part of Stephen A.'s reality check was the suggestion that these stunts are starting to have real-world consequences on Angel's career. He alluded to the recent news out of USA basketball training camp, where coach Kara Lawson reportedly finalized cuts for the 2026 World Cup roster. While the official reasons were performance-based, many insiders believe that Angel's brand-first distractions played a role in her being left out of the next-gen core that includes Clark, Buchers, and Watkins. Stephen A.'s point was simple. You can't be a franchise pillar if your primary concern is your own brand over the team's success. Caitlin Clark is the Indiana Fever. Angel Reese. One is a foundational pillar of a league. The other is a personality who happens to play in it. Closing part 1. The lines have been drawn. Stephen A. Smith has officially taken a side in the greatest debate in women's basketball history, and he didn't do it with a whisper. He did it with a roar. He has labeled Angel Reese an influencer and Caitlin Clark a phenomenon. In the next part, we're going to look at the fallout from Angel's camp. How did the Chicago Sky respond to Stephen A.'s comments? We'll also dive into the hidden details of the suspension that started it all and why some analysts think Stephen A. might have actually been too easy on her. We're going to look at the locker room tension in Chicago and why the Angel Reese brand might be reaching a breaking point. To understand why Stephen A. Smith chose this moment to put Angel Reese in her place, we have to go back to the first week of 2026. While the rest of the league was focused on the upcoming CBA negotiations and the expanding 2026 season, Angel Reese was at the center of a different kind of storm. After posting a series of provocative photos and videos on New Year's Eve, the Chicago Sky star faced a wave of backlash from fans telling her to focus on the game. But it wasn't the outfit that bothered Stephen A. It was the reaction. When the heat got too high, Angel briefly deactivated her Instagram, only to return a few days later with a defiant message about her brand. Stephen A. didn't see a confident athlete. He saw a confused business strategy. "I'm not telling you how to dress," Stephen A. barked on his show. "I'm telling you how to win. When you spend your energy fighting with fans on Instagram and then deactivating your account because you can't handle the heat you invited, you are showing a lack of maturity. You are showing that the brand is fragile." Caitlin Clark doesn't have a fragile brand because her brand is built on 30-foot jumpers and sold-out arenas. It's not built on being a victim of the comments section, the mebounds, and the efficiency problem. One of the most stinging parts of Stephen A.'s recent critique was his dismantling of Angel's on-court value versus her off-court hype. Throughout 2025, a joke began to circulate among basketball purists: mebounds. The term referred to Angel Reese's tendency to grab her own offensive rebounds after missing multiple contested layups at the rim. While the box score showed a double-double, the eye test showed a player struggling with offensive efficiency. Stephen A. Smith, never one to miss a technical flaw, hammered this point home. "We can celebrate the double-doubles all we want," Smith noted. "But let's be honest about the shooting percentages. Let's be honest about the missed layups. If you want to be mentioned in the same breath as Caitlin Clark, you can't just be a specialist. Caitlin is transformational. She is a threat from the moment she steps off the bus. Angel is a great rebounder, but she's not a threat to drop 40 on your head. And until the game catches up to the ego, the comparison is insulting." The Michael Jordan delusion. The disrespect reached a fever pitch in late 2025 when Angel Reese reportedly made comments comparing her impact on the WNBA to Michael Jordan's impact on the NBA. For a man who covered Jordan in Chicago, this was the ultimate sin for Stephen A. Smith. "You are not Michael Jordan," Stephen A. yelled, his voice echoing through the ESPN studios. Michael Jordan was the most efficient, dominant force the world has ever seen while being a global icon. You are struggling to shoot 40% from the field on a team that finished 10-34. To even fix your mouth to say the name Jordan in relation to your career right now is the height of delusion. Stephen A. argued that this stunt, trying to claim a legacy that hasn't been earned, is exactly why the older generation of WNBA players and media members have been so cold toward Angel. It's not hate, as Angel often claims, it's a demand for standard. The Chicago Sky suspension, the final straw. Perhaps the most detrimental move to Angel's reputation was the internal team drama that unfolded in the closing weeks of the 2025 season. As we discussed in Part 1, the Chicago Sky issued a half-game suspension to Reese for statements detrimental to the team, following a Chicago Tribune interview. Stephen A. Smith went behind the headlines to explain why this mattered. When you go to a major newspaper and you criticize the front office, the point guard play, and the roster construction as a sophomore player, you aren't being a leader. You're being a locker room cancer. And then to turn around and celebrate a video game cover while your team is losing? That is the behavior of someone who thinks they are bigger than the game. Stephen A. contrasted this with how Caitlin Clark handled the early struggles of the Indiana Fever. Caitlin was getting physically battered. She was being double-teamed from full court. Her team was losing. Did she go to the Indianapolis Star and trash her teammates? No. She took the blame. She worked harder. She stayed professional. That is why the locker room followed her to the playoffs, while the Chicago Sky locker room is reportedly falling apart. The Reebok versus Nike financial gap. Stephen A. also brought up the money. He pointed out that while Angel Reese has done well for herself with her Reebok deal and various fashion partnerships, the Caitlin Clark Nike deal represents a different level of corporate trust. Nike doesn't give $28 million to people who are popular, Smith argued. They give it to people who change the world. They give it to people who are reliable. When a corporation looks at Angel Reese right now, they see risk. They see social media drama. They see suspensions. When they look at Caitlin Clark, they see a gold-plated investment. Angel is fighting for the Barbie niche, while Caitlin is owning the entire sports landscape. There are levels to this, and Angel is currently stuck on the mezzanine. The reactive popularity trap. The most insightful part of Stephen A.'s reality check was his analysis of how Angel became famous. He reminded viewers that before the 2023 National Championship, Angel Reese was a talented player, but she wasn't a superstar. She became a household name the moment she taunted Caitlin Clark. Her fame is reactive, Stephen A. said bluntly. She is the Joker to Caitlin's Batman. But here is the problem. Batman can exist without the Joker. The Joker cannot exist without Batman. If Caitlin Clark retired tomorrow, the interest in Angel Reese would plummet, because her brand is built on being the antagonist. She has spent so much time being unapologetically Angel that she forgot she needs to be undeniably great. The 2026 ultimatum. As we move into the 2026 season, Stephen A. Smith has issued what many are calling an ultimatum to Angel Reese. He told her to put the phone down, stop the stunts, and fix her offensive game. The WNBA is expanding, Smith warned. New teams are coming in Toronto and Portland. New stars like Paige Buchers and Juju Watkins are entering the league. These girls are pure hoopers. They aren't interested in the Instagram drama. They are interested in the bucket. If Angel Reese doesn't stop the stunts, she is going to find herself replaced by a new generation of stars who understand that the brand follows the bucket, not the other way around. Closing part 2. The reality check is in full effect. Stephen A. Smith has stripped away the hype and left Angel Reese with a choice. Remain a social media influencer who plays basketball, or become the elite professional the Chicago Sky drafted her to be. In the final part of this script, we're going to look at the hidden footage from the 2026 USA basketball camp. Why did the coaches really leave Angel off the roster? We'll also examine the leaked messages from WNBA veterans who are starting to side with Stephen A. Smith. And finally, we'll look at the financial projections for 2026. How much is this stunt culture actually costing Angel in the long run? As we move into mid-January 2026, the WNBA is at a historic crossroads, and Stephen A. Smith has positioned himself as the leading voice of the accountability movement. While the league is currently embroiled in a high-stakes stalemate over the new collective bargaining agreement, CBA, with players demanding a 30% share of gross revenue and a massive salary cap jump, Stephen A. argues that the Angel Reese model is actually hurting the players' leverage at the bargaining table. You want 30% of the gross? Stephen A. asked rhetorically on First Take. The owners are looking at the stunts. They are looking at the disciplinary actions. They are looking at the fact that their stars are sometimes more focused on their Instagram engagement than the bottom line of the franchise. When Caitlin Clark puts numbers on the board, the owners see dollar signs. When Angel Reese puts a cryptic tweet on the board after a suspension, the owners see a headache. You can't ask for supermax money while providing minimum wage professionalism. The 2K26 cover, a divided fan base. The debate over the NBA 2K26 WNBA edition cover remains a flashpoint for Stephen A.'s reality check. While Angel Reese celebrated her cover girl status, Stephen A. pointed out the glaring omission. Where was Caitlin Clark? I don't care if she's on the cover, Smith clarified. She's marketable, she's beautiful, she's a star, I get it. But when you are the cover athlete of the premier basketball simulation on Earth, and you are currently serving a team-mandated suspension for detrimental statements, it sends the wrong message to the youth. It says you can be a distraction and still get the glory. Caitlin Clark fans are furious not because they hate Angel, but because they value meritocracy. In a merit-based world, the person who breaks the TV ratings records and takes their team to the playoffs gets the cover. In a clout-based world, you get the cover because you have more followers. Stephen A.'s point is that the WNBA will never be Big Four status until it prioritizes the merit over the clout. The Team USA cold shoulder. Perhaps the most damaging blow to Angel's elite status came during the December 2025 Team USA training camp at Duke. While Caitlin Clark was reportedly orchestrating the offense like a seasoned vet and earning a starting lock for the 2026 World Cup in Berlin, rumors swirled that Angel Reese struggled to find her rhythm in Coach Kara Lawson's high-octane system. Stephen A. Smith didn't miss the opportunity to highlight the contrast. USA Basketball doesn't care about your TikTok transitions, he quipped. They care about whether you can hit a mid-range jumper when the shot clock is at 4. They care about whether you can defend a 6 feet 10 inches center from China without picking up 3 fouls in the first quarter. Reports coming out of that camp suggested that the next-gen hierarchy is already set, and it starts with Clark, Buchers, and Watkins. Angel is on the outside looking in because she hasn't evolved. She's still the same player she was at LSU, while the rest of the world has moved on to positionless basketball. The financial canyon, $28 million versus clout. Stephen A. also addressed the financial gap that has become a canyon in 2026. With Caitlin Clark's first Nike signature shoe set to drop this spring and her record-breaking $28 million deal anchoring her portfolio, the rivalry is becoming economically impossible to justify. Money talks, Smith shouted. Corporations are risk-averse. They look at Caitlin Clark and they see a 10-year, scandal-free, high-production investment. They look at Angel and they see a brand that can be deactivated at the first sign of criticism. You want to be put in your place? Look at the chazability of the products. People are camping out for the Nike Kobe 5 Fever colorway. They are waiting for the Double C logo. Angel has the Reebok deal, and that's great, but it's not the cultural engine that Caitlin is driving. One is a niche market, the other is the mass market. Period. The Jordan reality check. Returning to the Michael Jordan comparisons that Angel reportedly floated, Stephen A. delivered his most personal, putting her in her place moment yet. Having covered the 90s Bulls, he reminded Angel and the world what true Jordan-esque impact looks like. Michael Jordan didn't just sell shoes, Stephen A. said with quiet intensity. He made people who didn't like basketball watch basketball. He made the league profitable for the guys who hated him. Caitlin Clark is doing that right now. She is the reason the charter flights are permanent. She is the reason the 2026 CBA might actually result in million-dollar salaries. Angel Reese is a beneficiary of the Caitlin Clark economy, not the architect of it. To compare yourself to MJ while being a detrimental presence in your own locker room is not just bold, it's offensive to the history of the game. The 2026 season, a make-or-break year. As the WNBA enters a moratorium on free agency while CBA talks drag on, Stephen A. issued a final warning for the 2026 season. He noted that with the expansion teams in Toronto and Portland preparing for their 2027 debuts, the league is looking for face of the franchise types. If I'm an expansion owner, Smith asked, who am I building around? Am I building around the player who brings the drama, the technical fouls, and the statements detrimental to the team? Or am I building around the player who brings the sellouts and the professionalism? Angel Reese is at a crossroads. She can either become the Draymond Green of the WNBA, a vital, defensive-minded piece who understands her role, or she can keep trying to be the LeBron without the LeBron skill set. And if she chooses the latter, the putting in her place we're seeing now is only going to get louder. The final verdict. Stephen A. Smith's final word on the latest stunt was a call for a return to the fundamentals. He officially closed the case on the rivalry, declaring that until Angel Reese shoots above 45% and leads a team to a winning record, the name Caitlin Clark should not come out of her camp's mouth. Respect is earned in the paint and on the perimeter, Smith concluded. It's not earned on a red carpet or in a 2K studio. Angel, we love the Barbie energy, but the WNBA needs ballers more than it needs Barbies right now. You've been put on notice. Now go out there and prove us wrong, or prove me right. Final closing for the video. And that is the definitive breakdown of why Stephen A. Smith finally hit the red alert button on Angel Reese. The 2026 season is shaping up to be the most scrutinized year in women's sports history, and the stunt culture is officially under the microscope. But I want to hear from you. Is Stephen A. being too hard on a young player just trying to build her brand? Or is he the only one brave enough to tell the truth? Is the gap between Caitlin and Angel a talent gap or a professionalism gap? Sound off in the comments below. If you think Angel is being targeted because she's unapologetic, let me hear it. If you think Caitlin is in a league of her own, drop a hashtag CC1 in the chat. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell, because with the 2026 CBA talks heating up, things are about to get very real. Thanks for watching, and stay locked in for the next one. The lines have been drawn, and the fallout from Stephen A. Smith's bombshell is only just beginning. But now, the real question isn't what the pundits think. It's what you think. We are at a historic turning point for the WNBA. Is this new era under Kara Lawson exactly what the league needs to reach the next level? Or is the disrespect toward veterans like Angel Reese and De'Arica Hamby going too far? I want to hear from you right now in the comments. If you're riding with hashtag Team Caitlin and you think the 2026 Ferrari offense is the future of gold medals, let me know why. But if you think the hashtag Sky Barbie is being unfairly targeted and that her impact on the glass is being overlooked for social media clicks, I want to see you defend your take in the chat. I'm reading every single comment, and I want to see who can make the most logical case for their side. Before you head out, Make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on all notifications. With the 2026 CBA negotiations intensifying and the CC1 signature shoe release just weeks away, the WNBA is the fastest moving story in sports. Don't get left behind while the rest of the world plays catch-up. Join our community of over 100,000 diehard fans. Stay locked in for the daily breakdowns and help us decide the future of the game. Tap that link in the pinned comment to see our deep dive into the 2026